Good evening and welcome to one of the first positive shows we've had in weeks. Welcome to ATL Falcons UK after this wonderful weekend. Hate week. We built up to it last week and we knew, I think, that it wasn't going to be a pretty game. These are not two teams that came into this game full of confidence by any stretch of the imagination. But the Dirty Birds came out on top after yesterday's 24-10 win against a hapless New Orleans Saints. The official record is now back in Atlanta's favor, which is just, in a season, again, full of disappointments. I think we can all agree, gentlemen, that it is a welcome sight this morning, especially if those maybe didn't have the stomach to stay up late last night. And I absolutely cannot blame you if you did not. You'll notice we've got a new face on the podcast tonight. Unfortunately, Cal's not feeling well and Danny is still gallivanting across the other side of the world. So Mr. Rhodes, one of the long-time listener and engager on the pod, has stepped in at the last moment to fill in Cal's shoes. I'm sure your language will be nowhere near as fruity as Cal's usually is. So, Paul, welcome to the pod. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming and stepping in for Cal, first of all. So I'm going to come to you for our first segment. How are you feeling after last night's game?
Oh, a lot better than I was before the start of the game. It was weird because it was one of those times where you're thinking, actually, shall I bother watching it after the last few weeks? And I got home. I'd driven back down from Newcastle earlier in the day. Got home.
God's country.
Yeah. We're looking at universities up there. That's another story. So yeah, I got home about an hour before kickoff. I was like, do I just stick to red zone, stick the game on? So obviously Harley's a Bears fan. He was watching the end of his game.
Of course.
I'm glad I made the decision to do that in the end. And it seemed quite comfortable throughout. It shouldn't be like that against the Saints. It should be a competitive at-them game. And they just were nothing, really. At the end of the day, they were who they are at the moment. The worst, if not second worst team with the Titans. So, yeah, all good.
I think there's a collection of teams down the bottom which are almost vying for the worst team in the NFL at the moment. I think I agree with that. But Liam, just before I have my two penneth, how are you feeling after last night?
Yeah, good. I mean, it's a team that we expected to be. I know it's up, but we know that obviously that game, we expected the Saints obviously to be up for it in a different way that maybe they would be for, they know their obviously season's dead and buried. They know they're a bad team. They probably can't get up for a lot of games, but they were always going to be up for that one. And, they were. Like, I don't think they rolled over or anything like that. They were up for it from the start. Obviously, they're not very good. And we took advantage of that, played, our game. I'm not going to say that we were fantastic or anything like that, but you kind of, it's hard to be again when you're against sort of teams that are, like the Saints. But we just needed to do what we needed to do, and we delivered on both sides of the ball, really. We know they have some talented players. We kept them under wraps and just did enough with what we had, because obviously we were lacking a couple of our key starters, quite a few actually, across the team. So we knew that we were exactly at full strength, but I think we also knew that on the day, man to man, we should have been the better team, and we were the better team, and we won a game that means a lot for different reasons sometimes. Like obviously there is some divisional meaning to this game right now, maybe not not like exactly fighting for the division yet. I know some will say that it's a good step towards it, but obviously means a lot even outside of the realm. Even if we were the two rock bottom teams of the NFL, even if that was the case, this game still means a lot, doesn't it? So just the fact that we beat them, it's just great, and it's a feeling that I will always enjoy.
Yeah, and yeah, I think I think I agree with that. I think it was a massively I think it was a hard fought game. I don't and for me, I think the defense won us this game. I think Kirk was an effective game manager in this one. I think we talked a while ago, and it was, and I will give the kudos to Aaron Freeman over at Locked On Falcons, because it was something that he came out with, but it was like kind of the Kirk Cousins chaos meter, and we weren't. We didn't see that chaos Kirk last night. It was just very measured, effective. The ball was getting passed around pretty much everybody. I mean, I think when we look at the offense last night, especially considering Drake wasn't there, all of the receivers had sort of like 2 or 3 receptions each. Kirk went for, I think it was 16-23, just shy of 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. I'm still not quite sure that was on Kirk, and I'm still not quite sure it was on Pitts. I think Pitts was getting interfered with a little bit, but whatever. It ended up being the Saints' only touchdown. But I think that's testament to the defense. And there was some big stops, especially that 4th and 1 at the goal line. I think that epitomized how bad the Saints actually are, of how Tyler Shook. I've heard it pronounced 3 different ways in the past 24 hours. But it just kind of how far they've fallen. And for the first time, Taysom Hill wasn't effective. Like how long has it been since we've been able to say that? Because he's usually like our kryptonite. So I think there were definitely some positives. I'm gonna touch on a few points from last night's game. So I will back this one to Mr. Rhodes. Run game seemed a little bit more kind of BAU. Bijan was doing some bits. Tyler was doing some bits. It felt like in the run game we kind of had their number last night.
Yeah. Again, you would expect it with the opposition we were playing. Bijan's got the X factor, and you have to utilize him as you can. I don't think he was particularly utilized as well as he has probably in previous games, like the Bills game and stuff like that. But it was effective enough against the opponent, and like you said about the game planning, it was just doing enough to get through, and you knew the opponent, our defense was going to be good enough against those opponents, and like 20 points, we were going to win that game. And as simple as that. Yeah.
And was there anything else on? I mean, I certainly felt like, certainly on offense last night, and I think it was backed up by the stats. We seen a lot more under center play, which is obviously Kirk's strong point, right? Leaves me wondering though, why on earth we haven't been utilizing that with Penix.
Do you think? I just think he's not uncomfortable being under center. As simple as that. As part of the game, coming from college up into the big times, you've got to adapt to being able to utilize, both ways, under center or you have to do that, and that's got to be his big thing. I think next season, being able to do that and be effective with that, if he's going to be a success for us next year. Obviously depends on the coaching staff situation next year, which is likely to change. And And okay, we might have a run of games we win. They might keep them. I don't know. I think they would go, but it's all that's up in the air really for next year. Whether he can do that and be effective and take his game to the next level, where I think it potentially can go, and I'd like to hope it will. But that's one for the future. We've got to stick with what we've got with Kirk for this season. See what he can produce. At least get some confidence going for the end of the season. I mean, that's the end of at the end of the season. If we can get another 4 or 5 wins, get some confidence with the youngsters and the rookies involved, you've got to look forward to the following season with a little bit of optimism, cautious optimism, because thing. I don't even want to know how many years' time you can see I'm going grey very, very quickly with this team.
Aren't we all?
I've always got to be optimistic, even though it's never come to fruition for nearly 10 years now. So, yeah.
Well, it would have been wonderful if I could segue into the next section, but I'm not going to do that because I think you've just raised a good point. But I'm going to back this one over to Liam. Liam, my question to you is, if we've had a pre-season with Kirk backing up Penix and Kirk's a strong point, Kirk's mentoring, which is ultimately what an older backup QB should be doing, why hasn't this coaching staff utilised Kirk's ability to play under centre to help coach it into Penix? Because I guess what I'm puzzled at right now, and I'm really, really interested to hear your thoughts, because I know how well you know the game, but I don't know if I'm sold on Penix not being comfortable under centre. I don't know whether this is something that they're holding back. Now, maybe it is because they don't trust him, quite possibly. But I just find it very odd if you've got a QB2 who's got the skill set to be able to play like that. Why aren't they utilising that on the practice field?
Yeah, I mean, even without Kirk, you feel like it's a coachable skill ultimately, especially because he's technically his second year. I know he obviously however long last year not starting, then he was starting, now he's had another however long starting until his injury. You'd feel like over that, if this was his first season, I could maybe get it a little bit more, but he's been he's had a season and a half now where he's he's either been starting or he's been at least around the team. I would have thought that even without, Kirk, it's a coachable skill if that's the way you want to play. But obviously, using somebody with Kirk around and who's got pretty much one of the main sort of under center style quarterbacks that's been out there in recent years, who does a lot of it, it would have made sense to bring it in. But I can only assume that there's some kind, because his style doesn't seem to be against it, because I know he only played, I know that obviously in college he didn't play a lot of under center, but not a lot of them do. No. So it's kind of something that a lot of them do pick up in the NFL anyway. So he's no different in terms of what he's been through in terms of experience.
Yeah,
and obviously you can sort of bring it in slow. You could have him on the center whatever percentage of the time, and just sort of bring that up if that's the kind of approach that you want to take. But we just, I could assume that on the practice field it just isn't working. If that's what we're seeing every week, it just if they're trying it and it isn't working, that's one thing. Or if they're just not trying it, just sticking with what it is. I don't know. I really don't feel like his skill set. I feel his skill set it does work for it. I feel like he could play that. He does have a tendency to sort of turn his head quite quickly, which is obviously something that's good for an under center player, and it works quite well for. I think I said it last week. In the way that Kirk Cousins plays, he's quite he gets into a good rhythm, and
yes,
like under center works for that because you're coming away from the O line, you turn your head and it sharpens your mind for that split second because you kind of just have to see the field there and then, and obviously you've got that play action capability as well, which can create a little bit of space if they bite on it. It just needs to make sense for him, but there's just something like if it's inability to or refusal to coach him to do it, and we believe that there's a better option. That's one thing. If it's him just not being able to execute it in practice, that's another thing. But
which is potentially worrying for me, right?
Yeah,
I mean, I'm certainly not sitting here going, "Oh, I've now got worries about Kirk Cousins because about Michael Penix." I've got plenty of worries about Kirk Cousins, but I guess I get and. Let me pose this question to you both, right? And you can give me a quick fire answer. Because yesterday it felt like it was almost a new playbook. I mean, that kind of Yankee kind of play at the end to Mooney was something, firing a bomb right down the middle. It almost felt like, sometimes yesterday it was a new playbook. So let me pose this question to you. Do you think, and Paul, start with you, do you think this is a Penix problem or a coaching problem?
It's a tough one, but
it is.
Yeah, if I was you had to pick one, I'd say it's potentially a Penix problem.
Okay.
You looked at yesterday's game and you could see remnants of the start of last season when we were doing fairly well under Kirko in October and Kirktober. It had the signs of that type of game. So,
okay.
I think you hit on something with the playing in shotgun with Penix. There has to be a reason why. They must think he's not comfortable under it. That's the only thing I can think.
Okay, cool.
That's what I'm thinking.
I'm gonna go out on a limb because I just don't trust these men at all right now. I'm gonna go coaching problem. That's that because ultimately Zach's the one that's calling the plays. So I genuinely I think I'm more erring towards
Don't get me wrong, the coaching hasn't been great, but yeah.
It's something they're not brave enough to trust him with. And my pushback to that is if he's your franchise quarterback, then you should be trusting him with everything. So I'm slightly the other way. Liam, what about you? If you sit in the middle and say a bit of both, I'm
at least I chose something.
Yeah, I mean,
it's tough.
I feel like I want to say it's a coaching problem, but I feel like I'm probably going to say it's a Penix problem in a sense that the coaches are seeing enough, well, not seeing enough, whichever way you look at it, from Penix in practice to not do it. But whether that is like just the fear of like if he's outright bad at it, then obviously that's one thing. But I feel like maybe it's a case of he's maybe like 50-50 on whether he could execute some of this and they're going with the safer option. So maybe they just need to, have a bit more of a gun ho approach and just let him do it on the field and see if it works. Maybe they're being hesitant, maybe too hesitant. But again, I think the hesitancy probably a reason for it in practice. I don't feel like he could be like doing it in practice, executing it perfectly, and then they're going, "Oh, we're just not going to do it in the game."
Yeah,
I can't understand why any logical person, but maybe we're not doing logical people here, would make that choice. But yeah.
All right. Well, anybody listening, drop it wherever you're watching from. Drop in the comments. Be interested to hear your views. Great. So, simple reasons.
That probably is true now.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Right now, I'll say yeah, probably.
I mean, yeah, they're made out of Rice Krispies right now. Okay, cool. I'm going to move on to the defense yesterday because I thought they played another absolutely blinding team performance. Diablo being back once again made a huge difference in that box. I think he I mean, considering he's come off a broken forearm, I think he was astounding yesterday. Another couple of sacks on the board as well. I mean, guys, it is quite something to see when we are going into a game against the Saints and getting 5 sacks. Now, I know people are going to say, look, they're a bad team and all this sort of stuff. You can only beat what's in front of you, right? And it's hate week. We've beat the New Orleans Saints. Like, let's not all get up on our feelings about how bad they are, right? Because we've been pretty poor this season. So if anybody's going to comment that, don't, because I'll ignore it. Just a couple of ones I want to call out, and then I'm gonna go around the room. So we got another sack for Rook, another sack for Jalen Walker. We had 1.5 for my guy Brandon Dawless, and another 1.5 for all the doom mongers and all the naysayers who said, oh, we wasted that pick. The Rams are going to get an amazing pick. Well, I think we've got a pretty damn good pass rusher on our hands in James Pierce Jr., who came up with another 1.5 sacks. And from that rookie class, he is leading the way in sacks this year. In the NFL from that rookie class. So, for me, how much I love those big boys up front, kind of throwing this pressure and limiting pretty much no offensive touchdowns is quite an achievement considering some of the play that we have witnessed over the past 4 weeks. So I just want to kind of chuck it out to you guys. So Liam, I'll start with you this time. Defense, have we potentially got one again?
Yeah, I mean obviously the pass rush is kind of what we were hoping it would be at the start of the season, which was pressure from different angles and different people. Like we've sort of said throughout the season, it's not consistently the same person or even the same 2 people. Like there's 3, 4, sometimes 5 people getting involved in what we're doing. Obviously, like you said, James Pierce Jr. is obviously doing a lot of the pass rush. You get Walker's coming in. You've got Zach Harrison obviously doing some of that. Like Ken Ellis can do some of them. We can bring something from the secondary. Dorworth is obviously heavily involved in that. Like there's a lot of players that are kind of getting involved in it on a regular basis, and that we're overwhelming offensive lines with the different options. Rotating quite a bit, bringing on fresh people, just dominating. Yeah. In that sense, and everybody's got another old pass rushers, but they all have different skill sets, different moves that they're going to apply. Some are going to try and out bull rush you and out power you. Some are going to be a lot faster, and James Pierce Jr. is a prime example. Somebody who's a bit leaner and can sort of go round somebody quite well. Jalen Walker's a physical sort of guy. Dawes the same. It's good to see. The secondary is obviously certainly in the corner positions is kind of the positions that we know is a little bit up and down in most games. There's some real enigmas, I would say, in that secondary. None of them more so than D. Alford, who
Mike Hughes as well, yeah,
brilliant. Like he was yesterday. D. Alford was awesome, and then I have no doubts that next week he could look like the worst player of the week.
You don't know what you get from week to week.
I mean, he's like some weeks I'm like, yep, like he can play, he can really play. And then I'm like, oh my god, this guy has never played before. Like I just, I kind of like I don't mind that because it's one of them where like ultimately if he can do, if he can have some really good games, they might be the key games that we need to win in a season.
Yeah.
Having somebody who's like mediocre all season maybe isn't a good thing. So yes, he has some bad games, but at least when he's on it, he's really on it, and he gives us a bit of a spark in that secondary that we don't really have from a lot of players. I think the defense is very good. I mean, it's tricky because there's been criticisms, and obviously been criticisms of the coaching, even on the defensive side of the ball, like this season, where we've had some games where they just don't look good at all. But then some games where we look like we're right up there in terms of the defensive side. So I'm still not 100% sure what to think. Personnel wise, I'm a little bit more like confident in what we've got now. Coaching wise,
I think we've got a real. I think we've got a real strong young core there, especially across that front four. I think certainly for me is where we lack. And like I say, Diablo didn't come into any fanfare, but him and Ellis really have kind of forged a bit more strength in that middle of that box. I mean, you can't. Our problem is as soon as you get past those two, JD Bertrand, bless him, it's not working, my guy. But it's so yeah. I think it's really hard, isn't it? Because you kind of go, wow, is this defensive unit really, really good, or like is it just inconsistent, or is it inconsistent because we haven't got quite enough quality or enough experience in there? Maybe, I don't know, but it's so tough to judge.
Yeah, it really is. And yeah, I hope that the coaching, no bricks and stuff is the guy, because I do feel like this team has a lot of potential defensively, and I really hope that we can get the best out of what we've got, which I think is a very good group. Now we are getting good things. He's getting good things out of them this season for sure, and some stuff which maybe isn't as good, but maybe that is down to the fact that a lot of them are rookies or inexperienced. Obviously there will be times when they don't, have a play where they maybe don't make a mistake, whatever it is, it's going to happen. But going into next year, with a lot of these guys being second-year guys, maybe we had a couple of pieces there, like in terms of the free agency, if we can do that. Like we've got a strong group that I really think can be, for the next 5-6 years, can be a very, very strong unit within the NFL, and which is not something we've been able to say for a long
time. No. Paul, anyone else you want to mention on the defense, or anything you want to call out from yesterday's performance?
You've covered a lot of it. I'll just shout out Xavier Watts with the game clinching interception. I think, like you said, the rookies are mostly stepping up to the mark, which is nice to see on the defense. And like you said just now, historically, when was the last time we had a semi-competent defense? Let's be honest. I mean, even if you look back, was it 3 or 4 weeks ago? 3 or 4 weeks ago, we were actually ranked number 1, which is ridiculous.
It didn't last very long, but it was nice.
But it's nice to have. Let's say it is definitely a top half of the league defense at the very least. And again, with them all being young, and you'd like to see them develop again for next year. And you mentioned bringing in the right free agents. It could be something. It could be more of a strength than the offense next year, which would be incredible. Who knows? Yeah. We'll see.
I think we could be a corner, like almost a second corner away from a very strong group. Like I don't even think it's that many pieces we need to fill. Maybe sort of a linebacker, like certainly somebody who can rotate in, and then a good experienced corner away from a very good unit.
I agree.
A bit more depth potentially. You know, the depth, you could probably look beyond the first, you know, the starting lineup. It could be a bit thin at the moment, and then that's where you need to make your key decisions next year. Yeah, if you get the
key decision for me needs to be pay Caden Ellis, because he is the heartbeat in that middle of that defense. So just pay him what he wants.
Yeah.
I am going to segue now out of hate week. We've all loved talking about how bad the Saints are and how much of a good kicking they got. But one thing that we do have, boys, we appear to have a kicker.
They didn't. You've got a job next week.
I just want to give a shout out. Like Gonzalez, he's just taking care of business. Like how nice is it to we go for the field goal, and I just don't worry. So yeah,
he popped one over for like 56 yards, didn't he? Like just. Yeah. Like when LRQ used to obviously struggle with that sort of length, and like, we were always like, "Oh, is that a bit far for him?" But he just came in and casually just stroked it over. It was like, "Yep, see you later." Walked off. it was good from 60 odd that kick.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and right down the middle. So
big up number 45, and ironically, I was doom scrolling earlier on, and I came across some horrid Saints fan who put up a blog on Instagram about the game yesterday, and he was waffling, throwing abuse at his at Bailey Gruppe, who is the Saints kicker. Obviously, he whiffed two quite kickable field goals, and said and basically blamed the game result on him, and I just replied, "My guy, you still would have lost by 7 points. Like I don't, and you'd have still lost by 8 points. Sorry, so I'm not quite sure you can lay it on your kicker. I think you should be laying it on the rest of your team. But anyway, let's not talk about those horrible individuals anymore.
Yeah, don't want to waste
What I'd like to move on to, and I think it's very poignant before we start talking about next week's game against the Jets. And Paul, if you just made your point a little bit later, it would have been such a beautiful segue. But the one thing I want to discuss is we're now looking at a bit of a strange old divisional table, because you've got Carolina one win ahead of us. You've got the Bucs 2 wins ahead of us. However, we're going into games against the Jets and the Raiders, which, not to make a point of it, but the Bucs have already played them. And it looks like Baker is nursing a shoulder injury. So I'm gonna speak to the elephant in the room. Is this season still salvageable?
Don't tease us like that. No,
I don't. Listen, it is my job to ask the question. Yeah. So I'm just interested to hear your thoughts. Go on, Paul.
I do think it's too little, too late. If we'd have got one more win on the board, because obviously we're sort of down on the tiebreakers at the moment with the Panthers and the Bucs.
Yeah.
So essentially, it's a 3-game swing. We need to get ahead of them.
Yeah.
I don't see it. I'd like to see it, obviously, but I think it's too much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Liam.
Yeah, I don't think we've got. I don't think what the Bucs have got left is difficult enough for us to catch them, because I think we've still got the Rams and the Seahawks.
Yeah.
Who I would expect both to beat us.
Yeah.
We could well beat the Bucs, and we could well, probably beat the Jets and the Cardinals and then the Saints. But like Tampa have got the Cardinals as well, who I think they're not. The record is pretty bad, but they're not awful. But I would expect them to beat the Cardinals. I expect them to beat the Saints after what we saw yesterday for sure. Then there's obviously the game against us. Then there's the Panthers, who can obviously they beat us twice, so you can do a job on a team. But I still would expect the Bucs to be better than the Panthers. I expect them to be better than the Dolphins as well. Is their other game? Yeah. So I don't see where there's enough Bucs losses. I feel like we could do our job.
Yeah.
But I don't see there's enough Bucs losses for us to catch them.
I think
I realised I said the Raiders earlier on. I didn't mean to say the Raiders. I meant to say the Cardinals. Yeah,
the
okay,
Bucs and the
fine.
Panthers have still got to play each other twice, haven't they, in the rest of the season? So there's games dropped there. I don't know what would be the best scenario. Probably both of them winning one of those. But, it's all very hypothetical. Like I said, I think it's too little too late. But, and that's the most frustrating thing. There's games left out there in the past few weeks. The one in Berlin, the missed extra point against the Patriots. Yeah. And also that at that point we wouldn't be talking about the coaching staff and the changes.
No, for sure.
It's fine margins. It's always fine margins in this game.
The games against obviously 2 games against Carolina, they were I know one of them we absolutely got pasted, but still, on paper and still looking at the Panthers now, we should have been beating them twice. Absolutely should have been beating them twice. We should not have been losing to the Dolphins. Yeah, as well. We should have beaten the Dolphins. I know they can produce a performance now and again, but we should have beaten the Dolphins. I've got absolutely no doubts on that. That would have been 3 games difference. Yeah. That would have been enough now to be having a conversation about us being right in the mix.
Okay. I might just have a cheeky look at the odds before I go.
Don't waste your money.
It's the hope that kills you. Okay, cool. I was just interested to ask that question. Fine. So looking ahead to next week, and I believe so it is at the Benz. The Jets roll into town. Jets' current record is 2-9. Their QB1 that they started the season with has already been dropped for Tyrod Taylor. Their leading receiver is Breece Hall with 2.
It's an away game, isn't it? This one.
Yeah, it is away. I've just checked. I thought
is it away?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Always get mixed up when they're...
Yeah, because they do a weird way.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. I think one thing for me looking at this game and knowing that stadium field like we do is I'm happy for a scrappy win, but I just want us to come out healthy. Because if we lose any more key players in this game, then it's going to be a limp to the finish line. Pardon the pun. I don't see anything on the Jets that necessarily worries me. I think they've got a half decent defense, if I'm honest, but they just haven't got enough on offense to ever really trouble people from what I on a consistent basis is probably my my summary of the Jets, but I still do think that defense isn't a bad one. I watched them against I think it was the Broncos a little while ago, and they matched up pretty well. But yeah, I can, and I've said this before. I can only hope that we are clinical enough against the Jets to be able to come out of New York with a win. One interesting stat that I'm going to give you before I get your views. Liam, can you tell me how many interceptions the Jets have had this year?
Ooh, I heard this in the commentary of one of their games. I think it was 1 or 2.
Close.
Yeah,
0.
zero. I thought they'd
Yeah.
That's not. It's not great, though. Really.
No,
So they're going to get one next week now, aren't they? Now we've mentioned it.
Well, that is what I was about to say. It's almost too perfect for us to get confident about. But Kirk. Let's just hope the Kirk chaos meter stays as it was this week.
Yeah.
I feel like I've stressed Liam out now that I've.
I was. When I said 1, I was like, I knew it was really bad, and I was like, 1's really bad. So I think it was 1, and it's actually worse than that.
Zip diddly. Yeah, that's wild. That really is quite special. Even Source didn't get any when he was still on the team. So, so looking ahead, any thoughts, any potential, any potential weapons that we need to look out for? Anything that you've noticed on the Jets that we should be looking out for? Paul, I'll start with you.
I think, like I said, it's going to be a game of attrition, and if we have a similar game plan to yesterday's game, I think it'll be a low-scoring game, and I think we can pull it out. The thing I want to be watching out for is obviously they're probably going to get their first interception at some point, and just like you said, if we can keep Kirk being
Calm.
not so crazy, calm Kirk, please. I think that's got to be the way forward for the game next week.
Liam, I'm going to play a guessing game quickly before I come to you.
Another game. 1 minute.
Can you guess a number of how many times a Jets quarterback has been sacked this season?
I kind of want to. I'm going to say the fact you're asking me would suggest it's probably a lot, but then at the same time, I was thinking obviously Justin Fields played a lot and he's quite mobile, so but I'm going to say 22.
Higher.
The number that a Jets quarterback has been sacked this season is 39.
39?
Justin Fields, whilst he was the starter in the New York Jets, was sacked 27 times.
Yeah, oh my God. You think he's more, but you think you'd be able to get out of the way, wouldn't you?
And Tyrod Taylor, since becoming the starter, has been sacked 12 times.
Well, that is what I was not expecting. That to be 12 already.
Yeah. Yeah. So automatically, with the way that Ulbrich knows those players. Ulbrich knows the Jets. That feels like a big opportunity, right? Especially for our D-line, who's averaging over 5 sacks a game.
Yeah. If they don't feast on that, then there's something going wrong there, big time.
Yeah. I'm almost a little bit, I don't know, like, I mean, you know my view on Justin Fields as a quarterback anyway. I don't think he's very good, and I never did. As a passer, good runner, like no doubt about his ability at running, but as a passer, just not didn't. I just don't think he had it at this level. No. But I almost kind of glad they're not going to start him. Just I know he's been struggling massively, but with the way that we struggled
against the scramble
in Berlin, in particular when they were scrambling the quarterback and Daniel Jones just basically ran all over us. And he's a pretty mobile quarterback, but even still, he's not a Justin Fields type of mobile quarterback. If they'd have gone with him and gone with the approach of we've seen the vulnerability to the quarterback run and just literally plowed it like with a lot of scrambles and a lot of Breece Hall, that would have worried me a little bit more than what I assume they're going to do. Because Garrett Wilson's still out, is he? Is he out?
I think Garrett Wilson's still out. He's on 4 touchdowns for the year. They're using Breece Hall
on the defense, didn't they, with Sauce and Williams.
Breece Hall is actually their second highest receiver, as well as
he's their main threat. I know, like, he's probably he's not had a spectacular year in terms of like touchdowns. I think he's struggled a lot. I know somebody said he's not had many, but and he's been up and down. But I still think he's a good. I
agree.
He's a good player. He's going to be their main threat. And the O-line, like, I know, I don't actually think it's that bad. Like, I know they've had a lot, like, give up a lot of sacks, but I feel like Justin Fields just holds onto the ball and does stupid things. So I don't know how much it's down to the O-line. But obviously with Taylor coming in and still getting sacked a lot, clearly there's something not quite right there. I thought they built that O-line up pretty well in recent years in terms of personnel, but maybe that it hasn't actually worked out with who they drafted and stuff. Obviously didn't get rid of Sauce. Basically just selling off they sold whatever they could sell asset-wise in just before the trade deadline. Like, they shouldn't realistically be winning another game this year, I don't think, and I kind of think they know that. And they're trying experiments now at quarterback and things.
Yeah.
I just don't see that they've not got enough viable threats, surely, to beat us. I've said it now, but it worries me. But I just, when you look at it, the team, I can't see how they can beat anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's totally fair. Any more on the Jets, gentlemen? I think it feels like we're saying it's going to be a resounding. Not necessarily, we're not going to blow them out the park, but we are going to win. I think we're all agreed on that one, right?
Yeah. I'd like to think so.
That one didn't sound so confident.
I've known this team too long. They can produce crazy things. You just never know.
Cool. All right. Nice one. In that case, Liam, I think it's time for us to move into our segments.
Yep. I'll roll some clips. We're going for first. Rookies?
Yes, sir.
Here he comes. Mark's favourite moment. The chair.
ATL Falcons Rookie Watch. And Liam on his happy chair.
Rookie Watch. Okay. Well, I know Danny was in the chat sort of excited for Rookie Watch this week and every week recently. They've been performing well, and this week was no different. I actually feel like I got a good segment. Like, I was worried a little bit about how the performing the segment was going to be, like, just negativity of players. But after I started to see they were very capable, I was much more inclined to continue with this segment of the show. Again, obviously, what Xavier Watts, that Paul mentioned earlier, was another good performer with another big moment. James Pierce Jr., like you mentioned, Mark, with 1.5 sacks in this game. Jalen Walker was obviously doing what he's been doing consistently for 3, 4, 5 probably weeks now. And we had this obviously the sad sort of loss of Billy Bowman Jr. I believe he's done for the season now. I think I saw earlier.
Yeah. It looks like an Achilles.
Yeah, so that was one negative on the side of the rookies, because I think he's been doing sort of okay recently. Yeah, I feel like, I know, like, Dawes isn't a rookie, but, like, he didn't exist until recently. So he's stepped up and been another brilliant sort of, like, young player on that defensive core. I think, rookies is an interesting one. Under the radar, I would describe him as still. If we're talking about, like, rookies in general.
Yeah.
And young players in general.
It's your segment. You make the rules. You can talk about anybody you want to.
I was just thinking about how many times I've mentioned it, and I can't really think I've mentioned it a lot at all in Rookie Watch. I've kind of spent a lot of time talking about Watts and Walker and Pierce, and that's mainly because he's not really stood out to me.
I I think we all questioned the Rook drafting because of the trade, and we all questioned the fact that Dawlis was pretty much a healthy scratch all season last season. We also, I mean, some people got up in their feelings about it. I'm still not quite sure why. About us letting an aging and regressing Grady go. But I just get the feeling like that partnership is starting to blossom. And I know neither of them are huge, like, nose tackles or anything like that. I think that's kind of what Onyemata was kind of like there for. And I think the way that they're rotating it definitely helps keep people guessing across that front four. But for me, having those two lads, and they're playing nasty. Rook's hands are getting better. Like that was one of his big things when we moved up in the drafts, and everyone said, "Oh, there was better players and stuff like that." But there, and this is why I'll give Ulbrich his flowers on this occasion, is those kind of tangible things that we knew about these guys that we hoped could be coached seem to be being coached. So I do think it's worth a shout out, because they're still second year rookies, and ultimately they're both starting to blossom a little bit.
Yeah. I think they're on that level where the kind of make or break sort of thing, isn't it? Like at the moment, a lot of these younger players, they say a lot of them are either rookies or the second year players that maybe didn't appear much last season or at all last season, and they're at that point where they're going to have to start delivering. And there's nobody that in the last couple of draft classes that I've sort of written off at this point and said is a failure. Certainly in terms of the higher parts of the draft, obviously some lower end players who you kind of expect are probably going to tail off and not really make much impact. But sort of there's first like 2, 3, 4 rounds players, I feel like most of them are still at least in the mix for being a consistent starter. Maybe some will tail off and some of them will turn into stars, but like I don't think there's anybody that I've categorically said is a flop or anything at the moment. So yeah, I think it's a positive young call, like we said earlier. Like to see some more pieces. Obviously, I did on the offensive side of the ball, where there's no rookies at all, so I can only talk about one side of the ball each week. But yeah, I think we're on to a good group. We're a couple of pieces away, as I'm going to keep saying. We're a couple of pieces away from a top 5 defense in the league. I think that's what I'm going to say. I'm going to put us that high, just because of the way that the rookies are playing. We're going into a lot of them are going into the second year. Obviously, they will be going into the second year. Add a couple of experienced pieces to that. See the progression from these rookies into what you'd hope would be progression when they're going into a second year.
Yeah.
I can't. Obviously, I don't know what the team's going to do, but I don't think top 5 is that crazy.
You just keep flirting with me. That's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Who's Paul? Interested? Who's been your standout rookie of the season?
I mean, the 2 first round picks. Take your pick out of those 2 guys. I think they're going to be legit for a while for us. Like you mentioned about, obviously we spent the draft pick on him. As long as you hit on someone and you think he's going to be good, great. I mean, people can argue about, we shouldn't have given it up and all that type of thing. But if he carries on doing what he's doing, I'm happy. Simple as that.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Any rookies around the league catch your eye this week, Liam?
Yeah, I mean, the player that I've sort of been like taking a bit of a notice of recently, not just particularly this week, but over the last few weeks, starting to show something, which is a player that I had a sort of quite a watchful eye on from the start of the season, just because of like the way that he played in college, and he had a lot of hype around him, and it fits in nicely because, especially with Paul's son being a Bears fan, because it is a Bears player, and it's Luther Burden the third.
I was going to say him, but damn it.
Yeah. He's starting to get somewhere. Like, he obviously he's an explosive downfield type of player. He kind of like a SHIT or bust sort of guy, and he's starting to like progress nicely, like in that offense that is. And we've criticised the Bears a lot, and a lot of people have, but they're winning games at the moment, and you've got players, and he's one of them now that's starting to add to an offense that is actually looking capable of playing football at a good level. And like I like to see a guy who's sort of like he started slow and he had some like poor games. I think there was a game where he came out with like negative yards, and that's all he did. But I think he's only like 20 or 21. Like, he's incredibly young, like, coming out of college, and he was a great college receiver. I watched obviously quite a lot of him because he was incredibly exciting and incredibly fast. And he's starting to show a little bit of that in the NFL. Like, some of these types of players are, you'll probably remember. You probably both remember players like John Ross, if you remember him from many years ago, who was like incredibly fast, very exciting college. Could not do it in the NFL, like, at all. Like, he was speed and nothing else. And Burden's the type of player that I was kind of like thinking, could he be one of those types? But actually, like, he looks like he's a lot more capable than he could have been. So I think the Bears are onto an exciting future, potentially, Paul. With definitely made the right choice not coming over to this side.
He's a very happy chappy, my boy. At the minute.
Yeah, that is.
And obviously, like you say, I've seen more Bears ball than the average Falcon, and they've got a good setup going. And they're going to be a threat, if not this year. Well, they obviously are a threat this year, but with Ben Johnson in charge, they're going to be up there for the next few years, I think.
And I think he got so much stick, and he still gets so much stick. And I don't agree. If you like painting nails, you go for your life. I just love to see Caleb Williams starting to prove people wrong in an offense that works. I think the kid's a great talent, and I think that they definitely got the right head coach to kind of open that up. So yeah, big up the Bears. Awesome.
That's it.
Thank you very much.
This week's Rookie Watch.
Rookie Watch. Awesome. So it's funny that we've just been talking about the Bears, because my section this evening involves the game that the Bears were involved in this weekend. Liam, do the thing. It's time for Fraud Watch. The Pittsburgh Steelers have, for a long time, always been renowned for being a defensive force. Ever since the amazing Steelers teams of the 80s. However, there is an open position for the defensive coordinator of Fraud Watch. And that this week is going to Terrell Austin, the defensive coordinator of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, why, you may ask, Mark? It sounds a little bit left field. Well, I'm going to tell you. In total defense, the Steelers are 28th in the NFL. They have a roster that has Patrick Queen, Jalen Ramsey, TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, Darius Slay. They've got Joey Porter Jr. They have got a stacked defense that has talent, and only in the past couple of years have been up in the top 5 defenses. Terrell Austin has been the defensive coordinator of the Pittsburgh Steelers now, and they have got progressively worse under him. They have talent coming out of their ears, and they are 28th in the league. So it would appear somehow that Arthur Smith's influence continues to eke into the building, because that is a fraud if I've ever seen one before. So we are almost now at a point in the season where we almost have a full fraud watch roster. Now, that does not mean by any stretch that the surveillance will not carry on, because it will. And next week, I believe we're going to have another wide receiver on the team to replace Brian Thomas Jr., who decided, actually, I just don't want to play again this season. So we've still got spots to fill. And I know there are teams across this league that are hiding away, trying to create excuses about why their players are fraudulent, and I will out them. So, Terrell Austin, you are now the defensive coordinator of the Fraud Watch Crotch Pheasants. And that was Fraud Watch.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
It's
on that one.
Crazy.
How can they go from a top rated defense to where they are now, especially with them stars? Something doesn't work there, and it's mad to think about it.
And I've received some feedback over these weeks. They say, Mark, you're mad. These players aren't frauds. You know, they're in the wrong system. They've got the wrong head coach. Nah. Well, can I just bring you all back to week 1 when we brought on board QB1 into the Fraud Watch roster? None other than, and as I called him on week 1, the poster boy of Fraud Watch, JJ McCarthy. Apparently he's in concussion protocol. He's been playing like he's been in it since week 1.
You didn't give him his proper name, mate. 9. It's not
Men
JJ
lie,
McCarthy.
women lie, but numbers do not, my friends. Anyway, we're going to wrap up the show, but just before we do, anything from around the NFL that anybody wants to call out from this week's, again, some mental games, like crazy games. Any picks of the bunch for you guys?
I think the first thing you need to mention is, although he played for the Saints and the Bucs, Jameis Winston with the reception and the take out and just, ball out and actually get in the end zone. And, I mean, fair play to him. I mean, you love him or hate him, that's a quality play.
Jameis is a treasure. He may have played for the Saints, and I will hold that against him slightly. But the man's a treasure. And if we remember, he was on the Bucs team with another NFL treasure. What was it? Ryan Fitzpatrick. He was another one. The NFL needs more characters like that. It really does. And I know he's the Giants are just crumbling after such a promising start. And now they've just got coaches getting fired left, right, and center. But QB1's gone, RB1's gone. Scatterbo was punching Logan Paul at the WWE last week. So I mean, he's still my favorite non-Falcon, even when he's got an ACL. So
he was live Twitch where he was downing a monster from his
cleat.
Yeah, that's like,
what a man!
You guys are mad.
But yeah, no, definitely. I back that, Paul. I think Jameis Winston he needs his flowers. I think he has to. I think he should come and play. I think he should come and play like 4 games for every team, just so that everybody can experience him. That's genuinely my opinion. I did see something the other day which I thought was brilliant, where it was like, if like, so what the NFL should do is like basically have Jameis like working for the NFL, and if QB1 goes down, you just send Jameis Winston there, because it will be fun if nothing else.
Should bring each week to where he goes.
Yeah, I rate that. Liam, any picks of this weekend for you?
I mean, the main sort of my points were, I think the Cowboys had a brilliant comeback against the Eagles.
Yes,
they looked like they were like all over the place, and they did whatever they did and come back and beat them. Dak Prescott, he consistently plays at a high level. Like pretty much every game, he sort of like doesn't get a lot of plaudits from people, but the guy can play. And obviously, they've got a good offense and a bad defense. I don't think they're going to sort of go anywhere this year in terms of what they can do. But on their day, they can play, and they've shown that the Eagles got a bit overconfident and kind of maybe took their foot off the gas a little bit. And the Cowboys came back and gave them what they deserved really for doing that. And then the other one was I was going to mention like the Lions. Obviously, they beat the Giants, but that was a close game, and I don't think anybody expected that to be a close game at all. Obviously, Gibbs was the factor there. He was awesome. And the Texans beating the Bills.
Yeah,
defense.
Texans defense, like what's his name? The guy they took really, really high, the edge.
Will Anderson.
Will Anderson, that was it.
Yeah.
Just absolutely blossoming into a real problem. So big up the Texans. And I did have a slight conversation with somebody the other day. Like, I don't think Josh Allen's a bad quarterback, but I really, really don't. But it's like teams have figured out you just have to pressure him. That's all you have to do. Like if you pressure him, like it's like Sam Darnold on the Jets. Like the dude just sees ghosts. Now, I think the problem with it is that when he gets protection, he's awesome, and you see so many games where he might be awesome 80% of the time, and that's enough. But like he hasn't got any real high quality receivers. I do feel a bit sorry for him because somebody was trying to tell me I should put him on fraud watch, and I'm like, he's not fraud.
Yeah.
I would just like to congratulate the Las Vegas Raiders. I would like to take a moment to congratulate them for doing the unthinkable. Well done, the Las Vegas Raiders, for making Shedeur Sanders look like he knows what he's doing. I think that's a real skill. I really, really do. I feel it's a little bit like, like, I mean, I don't have siblings, but I've seen videos of like when you give your baby brother the controller that isn't plugged in, and you just play the game and you just pretend like that. That's kind of what I feel like the Raiders did. They were just like, it's okay, it's your moment. You so yeah, that was wild. I look forward to that coming back down to earth because that man is a fraud.
Haven't they? Even when Gabriel comes back, they've named Sanders starter. So
yeah, but see, thing is, I sit here and I go, No, I'm not having it. Deshaun Watson was on the sideline. That's the most galling thing in the world. But the reason I'm not having it is, well, why didn't you start him? Why didn't you start him at the beginning before you went on a losing streak? Like, it's nah. I'm just not having it. Stefanski at the minute is just I'll tell you what Stefanski's doing. Stefanski's just going YOLO.
Yeah.
That's all he's doing. Like it's just pure YOLO at this point in time, which is a shame because I actually do rate him as a coach. But it's like I don't really feel like that organization even asked him who he wanted to draft. I just feel like they just went, nah, it's all right. We'll just get you a boatload of quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Did you see that Sanders was the first rookie QB to win a game in 17 QBs for the Cleveland Browns or something crazy like that?
Wow.
Dating back. So all the previous rookie QBs have lost, or starting QBs have lost the previous 16. So, he might be the one.
Well, if he's the one, I'll bear my arse on Trafalgar Square. All right, I guarantee he's not. Cool, awesome. Well, that's a great show, lads. And it's we've been guilty of kind of getting a little bit lost in negativity, but this was a happy show, and hopefully next week will also be one. Paul, I just want to say massive thank you for coming on the show, and also for all the love that you've shown us whilst we've been live over the years. You are a true OG in our eyes, so it has been a pleasure to talk some ball with you. And big thank you to my co-host Liam, as he's the only other one that turned up. I only said that so that when the boys watch this back tomorrow, they'll be like, "Oh, Mark, I heard you throwing shade at 1:12:24." But that will wrap this show up for tonight, guys. Thanks for joining us. It's been a great hate week.
Absolutely.
The boys from New Orleans really blew that yesterday, and there's no one happier about it than us across the pond. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you want to watch this back, we are available on all social media platforms, but apparently it didn't go live on Facebook tonight, so if you do usually log in on Facebook, sorry about that. We've obviously had some platform issues.
Yeah, Danny back, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
put me in charge of this stuff. It's gone to.
Don't try and get back in his good books after I've just slated them. But we are also available on all podcasting platforms, so Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Did it cut out?
Yeah, a little bit, but most.
Okay. I mean, I can't get any quieter than that. I can't do it. So it is what it is. Thank you very much. We'll see you again next week, and until then, let's enjoy Hate Week. Thanks, guys.